Howdy everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about subscriptions, why I know they're a scam, and how I'm going to go about canceling my subscriptions going forward. Over the last decade or so, especially during lockdown during COVID, it seems that every company is trying to find a way to sell you something through some sort of online subscription service. Basically, you get to pay this fairly low price every month, year, whatever, to get stuff online. Think Netflix, shows and movies, Amazon Prime deals, and the movie and media gallery that comes along with that, Xbox Game Pass to play games, Dropbox and iCloud, and among many others, to store your data and files in the cloud, Microsoft Office apps for productivity, Spotify or Apple Music for your favorite songs, and many others. Paying rent could also be seen as a subscription service, although it's a lot more serious and can't be canceled like a Netflix subscription. These subscriptions are designed to be convenient, to keep you paying for the service, to allow you to have full access to a content library, storage, whatever the case may be. However, what happens when you're tight on cash or you don't want to pay for the subscription anymore? You've been paying for the subscription for months, years, maybe even decades at the point we're going. You've sunk hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars into these services, and upon cancellation, you have nothing to show for the money you've lost because you don't own any of the content you've been paying for. Myself, you, others get roped into these models because of the ease of use, the convenience. You don't realize you're paying into a system that is designed to keep you paying forever, and it will ultimately cost you more in the long run than just buying the content upfront, outright. Obviously, it's impossible to completely avoid subscription models, especially in today's day and time, but you can certainly protect yourself from a total loss by weeding out unnecessary subscriptions now before you sink more money into it. That was kind of a long introduction, but in this video, I'm going to be talking about my subscriptions, what I'm paying for and how much, and what I will be doing to weed out a lot of unnecessary subscriptions from my expenses. When I thought about making this video, I knew I would have to face the harsh reality of looking at my monthly and yearly charges for subscriptions, and boy, it shook me to my core. First up, I'm going to be talking about my subscriptions, what I pay for in total, and how much they cost after tax. So what you're actually paying for. First up, I'm going to start off with my Apple Music subscription. I started paying for Apple Music July 4th, 2022 at the end of a 6-month trial. I thought, wow, this is convenient. I can look up any song I want, I can download it whenever, and I can just play it. It's awesome. I started paying the monthly subscription, which was $10.61 after tax, starting in July, going through November 4th, and then the price increased in December up to $11.68. After tax. And then starting January 4th, 2023, I started paying the annual subscription. So it was like marginally cheaper, like per month. And I knew I would be using it throughout the year, so I was like, why not pay the annual? And ever since January 4th, 2023, I've been paying $115.81 annually for Apple Music. Again, that's after tax. In total, in about the little over 3 years I've been using Apple Music, I have spent $412.16. That is a lot of money. And if I chose to cancel that subscription, I would have nothing. That would be $412.16 down the drain with nothing to show for it if I canceled that subscription. I would have access to no music, I'd have access to none of my playlists, none of my anything, because it's a subscription. I don't own any of it. Moving on to my iCloud payments, because I've paid for iCloud, which I started paying for around the same time I started paying for Apple Music. In about the little over 3 years I've been using it, I have spent $100.63 for the cloud storage, which again, if I chose to cancel it, be gone. Admittedly, I enjoy using iCloud storage because it's really easy for me to sync files, photos, data, and more across my Apple devices for a fairly cheap price, but at the end of the day, I'm still paying $36 a year forever for the same amount of storage. That's betting if Apple doesn't increase the prices, which, you know, they definitely will increase prices at some point. My point is, it's a fairly inexpensive thing. It's just like it's just $3 a month, or it's just whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, to what end? $3 a month for how many years? Decades? It's $36 a year. 10 years, that's $360. That's if they don't increase prices. And the odds are I'd probably run out of storage and have to upgrade it anyways. Moving on to Adobe, I don't even really want to think about how much I've paid for Adobe, because that is a very scary thought. I have a student discount for my bundle, and I've been paying for about $40 a month, which is I just said that out loud, and saying it out loud was a bit more of a realization than writing it down, but that's about $480 a year going into Adobe products. Some other subscriptions I have: Crunchyroll, $8.64 a month after tax; Amazon Prime for young adults, $69 a year; YouTube Premium, $8.65 a month after tax, and maybe a few other things, but admittedly, I do have access to student discounts for a lot of things like Prime and YouTube Premium, but it's still a lot of money. And I'm going to be paying full price for those things after I'm no longer a student here in a few years if I don't do something about it. And now for the really scary number. I added up all of my subscriptions, I threw them all together, and right now, I am paying a little over $1,000 a year in subscriptions. That is actual insanity. And the fact that I'm paying that much for things I don't even own, it's just crazy. I'm kind of happy I wanted to do this video about how much I hate subscriptions, because it made me realize just how much I've been spending. And that's from yearly subscriptions, monthly subscriptions. That's like everything all in. I'm paying a little over $1,000 a year. And we're going to get that number down. Little purchases add up, especially those little ones. Those little, it's just $3 a month. It's just $8 a month. Well, that's $11 a month. And for 12 months, that's, what is that, $132 a year that you're losing? Little things add up. This day and age, if someone cancels their streaming services like HBO, Hulu, Disney, that kind of stuff, they most likely won't have physical media or otherwise owned media to make up for it. Once you cancel the subscription service, you have nothing. I like my subscriptions. They're easy, but the idea of losing my media because I'm tight on money, whether it be my own files stored in the cloud, my albums in Apple Music, my favorite shows on a streaming service, or any of my projects and workspaces in something like Adobe, scares me. Which is why this year, 2025, I'm going to start finding alternatives for my subscriptions and maybe even sharing them here on YouTube. It'll most likely take a while because I've grown so reliant on my subscription models. But I'm going to try my hardest. I will keep some, like Amazon Prime, because they're genuinely useful in my life outside of entertainment. But I'm going to try and cut out where I can and opt to use what money I would have paid for these subscriptions to buy the media or licenses for me to own forever. I mentioned earlier that I've paid $412.16 in Apple Music subscriptions over 3.5 years so far. Now imagine I pay that yearly subscription for Apple Music for 10 more years. Without any price increases, which is almost certain not to happen, I will have paid $1,158.10 in addition to what I've already paid after tax to listen to music that I don't even own. With the money that I will have paid over the next 10 years, so not the money that I've spent over the last 3.5 years, but just the money I will have spent in the coming 10 years, I could buy 145 copies of Boston's debut album in CD form off of Amazon. With the money I've already spent on Apple Music, I could have already bought 51 CD copies of Boston. My point in this video is that subscriptions are great. They're super convenient, they're easy, you can get the corresponding app on whatever device you want, but are you willing to pay that subscription forever? What happens when you want to cancel your Apple Music or your Spotify, which you've been paying for years, maybe decades, depending on how long the subscription model lasts? You've sunk so much money into something you don't own, you have nothing to show for it after its expiration. My advice is make sure you buy physical copies of your favorite media, services, whatever, or like permanent licenses for software you want, so that at the very least, it may never be taken away from you. I've also set myself some personal goals for this year for some money saving on subscriptions. My first being, get completely off of Apple Music and iCloud subscriptions, which will save me about $151.69 annually as the current prices stand. My second goal is to form a reliable system for me to manage my photos, videos, music, etc. without needing a subscription. I'm toying around with the idea of making a home media server, so if I decide to go that route, I may make a video on that sometime this year, so that'll be cool if I do that, so stay tuned. My third goal, get my hands on my favorite media in the form of CDs and DVDs so that I feel more comfortable canceling some services like Crunchyroll or, other streaming services like that. Boys, the CD series may be making a comeback. If you're familiar with this channel, you know that I like buying physical media. I like buying CDs, DVDs, I don't have any at the ready here, but I do have a stack of CDs. I have a bunch of Frank Sinatra. I have a bunch of Boston. I have some Elton John. I think I have some Ozzy Osbourne. I have a lot of physical media, and I have a lot of DVDs. But, you know, I don't have as much as I would want. So I want to beef up my media library so that I know that I have my favorite media at the ready, so I'm more comfortable with canceling my subscriptions. And the money I'm going to save from canceling subscriptions are going to pay for those things. And guess what? I'll get to own them forever. My fourth goal, and my last one for 2025, at least for now, is work to find and learn free software like DaVinci Resolve, GIMP, or other services to fully replace my Adobe products before cancellation. I'm not sure if I will cancel my Adobe plan while I'm in college because I use their products for both personal and academic things, but the goal is to become non-reliant on them so that cancellation is at least an option. Those are my 4 goals for now. I may have more as the year progresses, but getting off of subscriptions is kind of scary for me because I've been reliant on them for so long at this point that it's just kind of I gotta work to get off of them and feel out like what else I need to do. Those are my goals for this year, to start weaning myself off of subscriptions. I think Amazon Prime is the only safe subscription because it actually benefits me beyond the ease of use or access to the media libraries in terms of shipping times, discounts, plus the media library helps, and a few other things to make up for the recurring cost. But everything else is on the table to go in the coming months or years. Like literally everything else is like I'm ready to get rid of everything. The ultimate end goal is obviously to own most, if not everything I use, so that I may pour more money into things I know cannot be taken away from me. It may be a higher upfront cost, but I'd rather start now before I'm locked into paying for subscriptions for decades. I may have some more goals pop up beyond the original 4 throughout the year, depending on how quickly I go through them, how comfortable I am with getting off of the subscription services. But by the end of college, at the very least, I'm about to be a junior. By the end of college, I think that I will have weeded out a bunch of subscriptions. Use free software like DaVinci Resolve instead of Adobe Premiere. Visit the Internet Archive for any media or software that you want and might be there. Maybe consider investing in an at-home storage center of some sort, whether it be something simple like an external SSD, a solid-state drive to put your photos on, or maybe even a complete at-home media server to manage all of your digital property. Most importantly, in my opinion, you should buy DVDs of your favorite shows and movies and CDs of your favorite artists and albums. Especially in a world where, in some countries, you have to upload your government ID to access Spotify, just so that a corporation or government can be like, no, we don't like whatever media, and they can just toss it away while you're still paying the same price. Basically, just look at your recurring payments. Consider turning that small, infinite price that's chipping away at your bank account into a one-time purchase that you know would be safe and in your possession forever. Because as we all know, everything's moving to a subscription model. From the rent you pay for your apartment or house, to your ad-free Spotify playlist on the way to work, everything is slowly becoming a recurring payment instead of something you can pay for once and proudly say you own. But anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Yeah, like and subscribe, I guess. Catch you later. Goodbye.